Answer to question number 34, that is A to J, and 35 or 36, I to 3 should be in a sequence at one place. What does she say about Romeo? She says, I want my Romeo to come gliding on a raven's back on a new snow, whiter than a new snow. When did Tamanna forget all his songs and ballads in the gardener? So when did he forget his songs and ballads? Hello everyone, I am Babita Tamaya, lecturer, Department of English, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. In my today's session, I'll be discussing the model question paper which has been released by the board. So, before I move on to the model question paper, I have few things to say. So, put together in your Spring's textbook, you have 14 chapters. Out of that 14 chapters, 4 chapters are deleted. And you might question which are the 4 chapters. The 4 chapters are Everything I Need to Know I Learned in the Forest, To the Food from Its Child, I Believe That Books Will Never Disappear, and Water. These are the 4 chapters which are deleted from your syllabus for this academic year. And this is the question paper which the board has released for the year 21-22. So before moving on to the question paper, you have your instruction here in the question paper. I'll just explain it to you about the instruction. Follow the prescribed limit while answering the questions. What you have to follow? You have to follow the prescribed limit. When I talk about the 1 mark question, the answer should be in a word. If required, you can write it in a sentence or a phrase. So your answer should be up to a word limit. Write the correct question number as it appears on the question paper. This is very important. Many of them do not follow the question numbers, what is there in the question paper. So you have to follow the question number, how it is there in the question paper. Based on that only you have to write your answers. You cannot change the question number anywhere in the first main or the second main. Because in English, from question number 1 till the end of the question, it is the continuation numbers. You cannot change any question number in any of the mains. Make sure that you'll write the correct question number. 1 mark questions attempted more than once will be awarded 0. Many of them have the habit writing the answer, that is a 1 mark answer, in the front leaf. Again, repeat the same answer in the mid of the page or at the end of the page. If you do so, it will be marked 0. Only once you can attempt. You cannot attempt more than once. That is the one word answers. Answer to question number 34, that is A to J, and 35 or 36, I to 3 should be in a sequence at one place. When I explain about the complete question paper pattern, I'll just tell you what is about question number 34 and 35 and 36. So here in question number 34, there are 10 questions. All the 10 questions should be written in a sequence from A to J, saying that A, B, C, D, like that. All the 10 should be in a sequence. The same thing with question number 36. 1, 2 and 3 should be written in a sequence. You cannot write A to C in one page and after leaving 2 or 3 pages, again continuation of so and so main and writing the next answers, it goes wrong. When you start with one question number, all the 10 questions should be in a sequence. For multiple choice questions, choose the correct answer and rewrite it. So if you have a multiple choice question, you are not supposed to write all the choices and then rewrite the answer. Don't do that. Choose the correct answer and write only the answer. No need of writing the option and then writing the answer. Don't do that. You'll waste your time. Write only the correct answer. Choose the answer and write it. That is about the instructions which you have to follow in your examination. And this is the question paper that the board has released for the year 21 and 22. This is the model question paper. So now let me explain the model question paper in detail with the answer. For this academic year, there are little changes in the question paper. That is, the pattern remains the same, only the number of questions has been increased. So in the first main, how many questions you had before? So it was only 12 questions, but now you have 18 questions. Out of 18, you should answer any 12. So you have an option here. Before, in the previous year question paper, if you check, you'll never get any option for the first main. All the 12, it was mandatory to attend. But now, in this year, you have 18 questions. You have a choice and you can choose the question which you study, which you know very thoroughly, and answer it. Moving on to the first main here. Answer any 12s here. Answer any 12 of the following in a word, a phrase, or in a sentence each. So you have 18 questions here. Out of 18, you are supposed to answer any 12. Each question carries 1 mark. Whose beauty is too rich for use according to Romeo? So whose beauty is too very rich here? It is Juliet's beauty. Her beauty is compared to the torches. Her beauty is compared to the Ethiops here. Her beauty is compared to a group of crows. So whose beauty is compared here? It is Juliet's beauty. Who is whiter than new snow according to Juliet? What does she say about Romeo? She says, I want my Romeo to come gliding on a raven's back on a new snow, whiter than a new snow. So who is compared to a new snow? It is Romeo. Next, mention the sources of the kinglet's special source of revenue in Monaco. So I'm talking about special source of revenue. When I speak about special source of revenue, your answer should be gaming house, where the people play roulette. I'm not talking about the commodities taxed in Monaco. I'm speaking about the special source of revenue. The special source of revenue is gaming house. So from the first poetry, you have 2 questions for 1 mark. And in the same way, from the second chapter, that is from 2 dear, you have 2 questions for 1 marks. And the next one is, the new item of expenditure noticed by the king in 2 dear amounted. So the king noticed the new item of expenditure when he was looking into the accounts. So what was the cost? How much he was spending there? Is it 200 francs, 600 francs, 1,600 francs? Actually, it is 600 francs, where the king was spending on the guard to fetch the food for the criminal from the palace kitchen. So what was the expenditure found? It was 600 francs. According to the speaker in On Children, the souls of children live in the house of, you have an option here, live in the house of yesterday, today and tomorrow. So what will be the answer? Speaker, according to the speaker, the souls of children dwell in the house of tomorrow. It refers to children's future. They are the next generation. They are into the next future. What cannot be visited by parents even in their dreams? According to the speaker in On Children, what cannot be visited? So the parents cannot visit their house, nor they cannot visit their souls in their dreams, as well as houses of the world in which their children are going to live. That is their souls. The parents cannot even visit the souls even in their dreams. What, according to Donna Laura, had made peace between Don Gonzalo and herself? What brought peace between Laura and Gonzalo? It is a pinch of snuff, because from the day they entered inside the park, both started fighting. But what brought peace? It is a pinch of snuff made peace between Laura and Gonzalo. How old was Don Gonzalo when he first went to America? What was his age when he went to America? So Gonzalo was 6 years old when he first went to America, and there he was born and brought up. Where, according to the speaker in When You Are Old, does love hide his face? So according to this poet, where is the love hidden? So it is hidden amid a crowd of stars. What did Basavaya and his people forcibly acquire in The Gardener? So in the chapter The Gardener, what did Basavaya forcibly acquire with the help of his friends? He acquired Tamanna's 200 acres of property, because he had 1,000 acres and Basavaya could not tolerate this. So he forcibly, along with his friends, went and grabbed the 200 acres of property and put a fence around it. So how many acres of property was forcibly taken by Basavaya? It is 200 acres of Tamana's property was taken by Basavaya. Moving on to the next one. When did Tamanna forget all his songs and ballads in the gardener? So when did he forget his songs and ballads? When his property was acquired by Basavaya, he did not want to go to the police nor wanted to file a case. But he thought of some other measures to annihilate Basavaya. What was that? He started singing songs and he started writing the ballads. But when did he forget all those stuff? When? That is after the death of Basavaya. After the Basavaya's death, he forgot all his songs and ballads. Where, according to the poet, does the tender sunshine lean on in heaven if you are not here on earth? Where does the tender sunshine lean? The tender sunshine lean on the verdant gardens, that is on the green gardens, full greenish in color. When do the bowing gentlemen transform themselves into savages in Japan and Brazil through a traveler's eye? So what is the mania here in Japan? They bow to each other, whether they are elder or older, whoever it is, with lot of respect, they bow to each other. So what is the answer is, as soon as the bus arrives. So here it is about the gentleman transforms themselves into savages. So before entering into the savages, what they do, as soon as the bus arrives. So each and every time they bow to each other with lot of respect, and it is the mania of Japanese. But when it comes to the bus stop, do they follow that mannerism? Really? No. So it is scattered. All those stuff is not remembered when they are getting inside the bus. They don't even bother to bow to each other. They just try to enter inside the bus. Which place in Brazil is called the worst place of all by George Mikes? So in Brazil, as I told, there is a one place, that is the Avenida Presidente Vargas. That is the place where the traffic is too very congested, where you can't even move an inch. You have to wait for an hour to move from one corner to the other corner. Such horrible is the traffic in Brazil. That is in Avenida Presidente Vargas, only in that place. Moving on to the next one. Expand PAP mentioned in the order. What is PAP, or what does PAP stands for? PAP stands for People's Alliance Party. So the candidate of this party is Marcus Ebe, and Roof is a campaigner for PAP party. So this question is very important. Instead of PAP, they might ask POP also. POP refers to Progressive Organization Party. And here PAP stands for People's Alliance Party. And the contestant is Marcus Ebe. Name Marcus Ebe most trusted campaigner in the order. Who is the most trusted campaigner here for Marcus Ebe? It is Roof or Rufus OKK. His full name is Rufus OKK, or else in short you can write it as Roof. So Roof is a well-known campaigner for Marcus Ebe, and he could read the mood of the people, and he can say what the people need the changes this time. By looking into their mood, Marcus Ebe, he gets to know from Marcus Ebe that the people want some changes in the next coming election. So who is the well campaigner for Marcus Ebe? It is Roof. Name the organization that sanctioned mopeds for aerial activists in Where There Is a Wheel. Who sanctioned mopeds? By looking into their exhibition cum contest, so the UNICEF sanctioned 50 mopeds. How many mopeds they sanctioned? 50 mopeds. 50 mopeds was sanctioned by whom? By the UNICEF, because they were stunned by the aerial women activists who took part in the rally. By looking into that, the UNICEF sanctioned them 50 mopeds. Name the humble vehicle that is called metaphor for freedom in where there is a wheel. Which is the humble vehicle for the women there? It is cycling. They call cycling as their humble vehicle because they did not want to depend on any man, and if they wanted to depend, they couldn't finish their work, whatever they have planned for. So they say that cycling is their humble vehicle. So I have explained all the 18 questions for 1 mark. So out of these 18 questions, you can answer any 12. So from each and every chapter, you have two questions from 1 mark and 1 question from the poetry. So 2 questions will be from the prose and 1 question will be from the poetry, except on children. From on children, you have 2 questions, but from when you are old and heaven, if you are not here on earth, you have only 1 question for 1 mark. From all other chapters, you have 2 questions. Moving on to the second main, and you can see the question number, it's the continuation. Answer any 8 of the following questions. See here, choosing at least 2 from poetry in a paragraph. So here, also in the second main, the number of questions they have increased. They have increased to 14 questions. Before it was only 10. So now out of 14, you are supposed to answer any 8. How many questions you have to answer? You have to answer any 8. And out of that 8, you need to choose 2 questions from poetry. So 14 questions you have. You are writing any 8. In that 8, 2 is mandatory that you have to opt from poetry. Hope I'm clear. Each question carries 4 marks here. No need of writing the introduction or the conclusion. You can directly write the answer. Moving on to the question number 19. So we ended up the first main with question number 18. Moving on to the question number 19 in the second main. So here the main is very important. In English, we don't have anything saying that part A, part B or part C. Only we have the mains here. So now I am moving into the second main. Let's see the first question here. Bring out Juliet's expression of love for Romeo. So don't get confused or don't get panic here. So many a times the questions will be twisted. Don't get confused with the answers. Just you have 15 minutes time to read the question paper. Once you get, aramse you read the question paper and recall the answers. So bring out Juliet's expression of love for Romeo, or how Juliet wants people to forget the shining sun. Explain. How does Juliet want to express her love for Romeo here? So in the beginning she says, Romeo sees Juliet on the dance floor and he is fascinated by her beauty. So it is the 3 prejudiced birth of love for a man from the enemy family. So here Juliet and Romeo belong to the enemy family. At the end, they get to know they are from the rival family. So what happens next here in the sense, how Juliet confesses love. So she says she will be waiting for night to come as soon as possible. She wants her Romeo to come at night. Juliet wants the people to forget the shining sun by welcoming the gentle. Juliet says that I want my Romeo to come gliding on a raven's back, because I want all the people to forget the shining sun. If her parents would have got to know about their love, both would have been killed. So Juliet says, if I'm dead, I want my Romeo to cut into pieces of stars after my death. Why she says this? Because my Romeo will make the face of the heaven so fine that all the people in the world will fall in love with night sky and pay no worship to the garishing sun and forget his Romeo as day in the night. She says that, yes, I want my Romeo to be immortal. So if he is alive, if he is cut into pieces of stars, most of the people, what they do, they worship the sun early in the morning. But once he is cut into stars, I want the people in the world to worship the night sky. That is my Romeo. By speaking of lions after death, Juliet exhibits more passionate and intense love for her beloved Romeo. This is the answer for this question. Moving on to the second question. Why was the council forced to alter the execution of the criminal in 2 years? Or else this question might also ask it, why did the king keep on changing his decision in dealing with the criminal? Either the ways the question might be asked. In the model question paper, it's like this. Why was the council forced to alter the execution of the criminal? So why the king was keep on changing the decision? What happened in the kingdom actually? So when this question appears, most of the children start writing the answer from the mid of the question. Start writing the answer from the mid, saying that they wrote a letter to the French government. But what happened before that? Why the criminal was punished? What did the criminal do there? So your answer should be, a murder was committed in the toy kingdom. The people of that kingdom were peaceable. So later, the case was brought to the court. There were judges, barristers, jurymen, everyone were there. On behalf of everyone, the judgment was given saying that the criminal should be executed. Executed in the sense, his head should be cut off. The same thing was brought to the notice of the king, and the king also told that if the man should be executed or if the man's head should be cut off, execute him. Then they had a problem there. What was the problem in the kingdom? The H in the sense a problem. What was the problem here? They neither had guillotine to cut the man's head off nor an executioner. Guillotine is the machine to cut the man's head off. They did not have the machine nor an executioner. Executioner, the person who should be trained to cut the man's head. So what did they do in the sense? The ministers wrote a letter to the French government seeking the help for a machine and an expert to cut the criminal's head. So what was the reply from the French government? The French government was ready to supply the machine and it would cost 16,000 francs. Was the king ready? But the king was not ready to spend so much of amount. Then they wrote a letter to the Italian government, and the Italian government was ready to send or ready to supply both mission and an expert for 12,000 francs, including the traveling expenses. So French government, they were ready to supply only the machinery. Here, they were ready to supply machinery and an expert, including the traveling expenses. It was 12,000 francs. So it was a bit cheaper when it is compared to the French government, but the king was not ready. Then they thought of taking the help from the soldiers. But was the soldiers ready? Yes, they say that we are trained for such kind, but we are not going to undertake the job. Even the soldiers also did not help the king. They also stood back. At last, what did the king do? Then all the commission, a committee and the subcommittee members were assembled, and they decided to alter the death sentence to life imprisonment. So the people of that kingdom would feel that the king has showed some mercy towards the criminal by putting him into the prison. So after altering the death sentence, they all decided to put the criminal in a prison, but there was no permanent prison. Somehow they managed to put him in a temporary prison, and a guard was placed. And what was the work of the guard? The guard has to fetch the food from the palace kitchen and serve the criminal. Moving on to the next one. Why does the criminal refuse to go away from the prison? Give reason. So here, in the beginning, the sentence was to cut his head. And after that, the king altered the death sentence to life imprisonment. But now, at the end, the king is asking the criminal to go away from the prison. So instead of the word refuse, they might ask you reluctant also. Why does the criminal refuse, or why does the criminal reluctant to go out of the prison? So after the year, the king was looking into the expenditure and the cost was found 600 francs. So he was looking into the accounts and he just found 600 francs where he was spending for the guard. Later, the guard was dismissed. After looking into the expenditure, the guard was dismissed and the criminal, he himself has to go to the kitchen, fetch his food and come back. So one of the ministers, what they do in the sense, they all sit and decide and this decided to dismiss the guard. The guard was dismissed, but the criminal never showed any sign of running away from the prison. One day, one of the minister, he himself comes and tell the criminal, when you don't find any guard, why can't you go away from the prison? If you go out also, the king is not bothered of it. So at that time, the criminal is questioning, you people, first it was death sentence. You could have executed me. You just changed from the execution to the imprisonment. A guard was placed, dismissed the guard. I never questioned. But now you're asking me to go away from the prison where I'm not ready. Because each and everyone in the village knows that I have committed a murder and they will turn their backs. You have ruined my character and the people will never give me any work. So what the king has done, or the ministers of the kingdom, they have ruined his character and all the people in the village will turn their backs and no one will give him any work in the village. So he says, I'm not ready to go out of the prison. At last, what happens here in the sense, all the ministers and the committee members sits together. Again, they decided to give him a pension. So at last, a pension was fixed as 600 francs and before leaving, he took his pension in advance and left the king's domain. This is how at last the criminal agreed to go away from the prison. Next, how does the speaker describe the characteristics of children in On Children Explained? How did the parent, or according to the prophet, what is the responsibility of the parent? How do they bring up their children in future? That was the question, or that was the woman who is holding the babe in her hand was questioning the prophet. So here the prophet who can answer all your questions. So she is questioning the prophet here. So how does the speaker describe the characteristics of her children here in On Children? So Khalil Gibran is an American poet who is high philosophy of life and in simple and beautiful poetic essay. His On Children is a critique of the usual expectation of parents about their children. Of course, yes, once the baby is born, whether it's a boy or a girl baby, the parents themselves decide what their children want to be in their life. They will never think what the children's aim, what is their aspiration. They'll never think of that. They themselves will decide what their children should be. In this poem, a woman who approaches the prophet to know about the babe against her bosom. She is holding a babe against her bosom. When she holds a baby against to her heart, here the mother and the baby are closely connected. And the prophet begins saying that in the first line itself, your children are not your children. The beginning line itself, the prophet says, your children are not your children. He beautifully brings up the concepts of life, creations and its aspirations. Yes, biologically you have given birth to your children, but they doesn't belong to you. So what the parents can give here in the sense, you can just give your love but not your thoughts and ideas. Whatever you have learned, whatever thoughts you have in your mind, you cannot impose the same thing on your children because the children have their own ideas, their own thoughts where they can do it well. Because nowadays we have lots of opportunities in this world. Some children might be good in academics and some might be good in cultural and some might be good in sports. We'll be not knowing, but they know their talent, what they are good at. So if the student or the kid who is interested towards the sports And if we force them to study in their academics, will they achieve anything in their life? Really? No, it's not possible, because that is not their aspiration. Their interest, their aspiration is towards sports. So let them move on in their way, but only you will help them and you have to guide them. You should be a supporting hand for them, but you cannot impose your ideas and thoughts. You can dwell their house, you can give shelter to them, but you cannot give your thoughts, because the children dwell in the house of tomorrow. It means to say that they belongs to the future generation. It is totally different. You can't even reach them in your dreams also. Can you reach their souls in your dream? Really not possible. But here the children have different ways of learning. Instead of imposing your ideas and thoughts to the children, whatever the children's learning, or the children have their own ideas and thoughts, whatever the creativity they have, try to learn at least by them, but don't impose your ideas and thoughts. Not only that, the children life for the future which cannot be reached by the parents, as I told. Not even in their dreams the parent can reach their souls. So the advice here to parents is, they shall not pressurize children with their thoughts like bow in the hands of the archer. They should take the pain happily to bend and send the children into the future. Here, bow refers to the parents. That is, the parents are stable in one place. Only the thing is that they have to guide, they have to support, and they have to push their children to move forward. And arrow is referred to a children where it has to go and reach the destination. And the God is there with both parent and children. That is, archer refers to God. So without God's help, without God's support, we cannot do anything in our life. God's prayers are very important. So the prophet says that the God loves both arrow as well as bow. They should take the pain happily to bend and send the children into the future. God loves those responsible parents who will take all the pain to remain stable. So who is taking all the pain here? The parent will take all the pain only to see their children achieving the goal or seeing their success in their future. What makes Donna Laura call Don Gonzalo an ill-natured old man in a sunny morning? Give reason. Why does Laura says that you are an ill-natured man? Because when Laura entered inside the park, she comes with the breadcrumbs. So once Petra went to meet the guard, she's throwing 3 handfuls of breadcrumbs for the pigeons. The first handful is for the sparrows, who is very young and energetic. The second is one for the gluttons. How much ever you feed them, it is not enough. And third one is for the little ones. So she throws 3 handfuls of breadcrumbs and the pigeons are fed with that. At the same time, what happens here? Gonzalo enters into the park leaning on the arms of his servant Benito, dragging his feet. So while he enters into the park dragging his feet, all the pigeons fly away from the place because they were scared. So Laura gets angry and he just shouts at the man. But the man says, that is Gonzalo says, I have never met you. I have never spoken to you. Why do you take the liberty of addressing me? So she says, you have scared away my birds. And he says, it is a public property. If so, why did you say that the priest have occupied your bench? Again, he repeats the same thing. I don't want to talk to you because I have never met. At that time, Laura says, what an ill-natured man. And in one way, she'll be very happy because Gonzalo did not get any place or any bench in the park. And in the other way, she feels pity because he is too very old and he is dragging his feet and walking. But even then, she says that he is an ill-natured man because he scared away my birds. Moving on to question number 24. Give an account of Don Gonzalo's cousin's glorious death as narrated by Don Gonzalo in a sunny morning. So you need to explain the story which was told by Don Gonzalo as his cousin. Laura Laurenti was called or known as a silver maiden in her locality. She was very unfortunate and had a sad love affair. Gonzalo told Laura the gallant lover was his cousin. Laura told Gonzalo that they wanted to marry each other. So Laura is telling Gonzalo that your cousin and my friend wanted to get married. But Laura's parents wanted her to get married to a merchant, but she did not like him. So after that, what happened? One night when his cousin waited to hear her sing, he went near her window, he wanted to listen her sing. Unfortunately, there was a merchant over there near the window. Unexpectedly, he was there. So at that time, his cousin was insulted by the merchant, and there was a duel between the merchant and his cousin. So his cousin, he has to hide himself where he couldn't face the consequences. Then he took shelter in Gonzalo's house. Later he flew to Madrid. Why did he go to Madrid? Because his cousin couldn't face the dangerous situation, and he was a person, that is the merchant was a person who was highly regarded in that locality. So Gonzalo informed that his cousin had gone to Seville from hometown, and then he came to Madrid. He had written many letters to your friend, but he did not get any reply. So what his cousin thought, in the sense, he lost his beloved forever, and he went and joined the army. After joining the army, he went to Africa, and there in the trench, he met a glorious death grasping the flag of Spain, and he is whispering his beloved's name, that is Laura. This was the account given by Gonzalo to Laura about his cousin after his death or after the duel. Moving on to question number 25. Narrate how the speaker portrays his beloved's future in When You Are Old. So this poem speaks about the future. It's not about the present nor about the past. Here the speaker is speaking about the future. So when his beloved becomes old, at that time she'll sit and read my book. Then she'll realize, yes, I made a mistake, without accepting his love. The poet imagines his beloved in future. As I told, in future, he's talking about the future when she is an old and grey woman full of sleep, to slowly read a book of memories from her youth. As the woman is nodding by the fire, she leaves through the book and recalled her days of soft looks and sorrows as she changed. So that is in future, when she is too very old, when she is too sleepy, what does she do? Sitting near the fire, she'll just open the book which is written by his beloved, that is by the poet. Nodding her head, she start reading the lines in the book. At that time, she will just recall the things, what has happened in her life in the past. She just sits and remembers about the soft look, everything. But later she realizes, yes, I had made a mistake. What does the poet says then? She remembers her faded beauty, was admired by many, but then recalls the only man, the narrator. As I told, when she is too young, you can see many men around them. Have you seen the honeybees? Yes, when you see the flowers, in that nectar, what happens? You can see many honeybees around it. The same way here, the lady here in this poem is too very beautiful, and you can see many men around her like honeybees. But she later realizes, no, there is a man other than these men. Who is that? That is the narrator, who loved for her unique soul. He loved her, even she grew less beautiful as her personality changed in the fullness of time. So here The men around her, they loved only her beauty, not her inner soul. But there was only a man who loved her inner soul, and he says that when you're young or when you become too old, whatever your beauty might be. So what happens here in the sense, when you keep growing old, you can see the wrinkles on your face, your hairs are gone grey. However you are, but my love for you will be the same until my last breath. That is what the poet says. It is not like other women. When you're too very young, they are admired only for your physical beauty, but not me. I am loving your inner soul. The glad Grace expresses that when she is young and beautiful, in her best moments of life will be interested in her, but their love for her will be superficial. So my love for you is superficial till the end of my last breath. And the line next, sorrows of your changing face. As I told, when you grow old, you can see the changes in your face, your wrinkles, you can see the dark circles. If your faces are changing, even then my love to you will be the same. It never changes. A contrast between glad grace and sorrow of your changing face would suggest that while others love her in happy times, he also says that the other men may love you only when you're too very happy. But my love to you is totally different. You're happy or sad, whatever it is, my love remains the same thing. But he will love her every time, including the worst ones, good or the worst, but my love is the same. Pilgrim soul refers to the belief that every soul is a pilgrim on the way to salvation and redemption. The speaker exhorts the loved one to remember him in later years as she sits beside the fire and bends over the embers of the fire. So here the author or the poet says that till now I don't even know why did you reject. What you didn't like in me, I really don't know. But now when you're old, sitting near the fire and thinking of me and regretting now, it's of no use, because I feel ashamed of myself that something is wrong in me. The word murmur suggests a whisper that shows that she has no passion or just left. The gradual diminishing of the love, which may then loiter over mountains for a while and then disappear. So he says, at the end of the day, that is when you're too very old, when you realize, and if you think that, and if you want me to be with you, you will never find me, because I will be amid the crowd of stars. I will be hidden amid the crowd of stars. I don't want to show my face. Being on the mountains overhead suggests that love waited on a higher plane than that which she inhabited. It is not just a person that she has lost, but the ultimate, true and everlasting possibility of love. The poet says at the end, you did not lose the love, but the ultimate, the passionate for soul, you lost that. He concluded, visualizing that she is now bending down besides the dying fire and tells herself in a whisper, in a regretful tone, that her true love has fled and hidden his face amid a crowd of stars. As I told, now she is regretting, and now she is feeling that yes, it was his true love, and if she thinks of getting him back, really it's not possible, as I told, because he is hidden amid a crowd of stars. He doesn't want to show his face. Moving on to the next question number 26. Comment on the changes that were seen in the life of the plantation owner after the arrival of the old man in the gardener. Or this question might also be asked in the other way. Describe or bring out the changes in the lifestyle of the owner after the arrival of the old man. Either of this question might be asked, but the answer remains the same thing. So why did the owner become lethargic here? Here he has a man who walked hundreds of miles and he has reached a coconut grove near Chennarayapatna, and his appearance was totally the same thing what the narrator was thinking here. So he was a laborer, overseer, and he was well versed in agriculture. He came to the garden after walking hundreds of miles near a coconut grove near Chennarayapatna. He was really useful to the owner because the owner of that coconut grove was searching for such a person who can take care of his property. He was well versed in agriculture and aware of the problems of workers. He knew about the agriculture and whatever the problems the workers had. He knew each and everything. So this man was appointed to look after his estate. He controlled the petty thefts in the garden. So after the arrival of the old man, what happened? There was theft. Robbery was happening in the coconut grove. That theft was stopped. So he controlled the thefts in the garden. The income of the owner, that is the plantation, increased. There was a perceptible change in the lifestyle of the owner. He was not at all interested in his estate. He just started acquiring more friends in his village as well as the neighboring village. But the owner became lethargic and shied away from hard work. Owner became lethargic. It means to say that the owner became lazy and he moved away from his hard work. Before the arrival of the old man, the owner was very hardworking, but later he became lethargic. His wealth and social prestige has risen higher. So after the arrival of the old man, his prestige raised to a higher level. He acquired many friends. His life became crowded with colorful events. It means to say that he acquired more and more friends. He started to enjoy his life where he completely forgot about his plantation. So who is worried here? His wife is worried whether the arrival of the old man is for the good or for the worse. She was worried about his adultery and vices cultivated lately. The gardener made their farm to grow beyond their imagination, but they made their life to gradually get out of their hand. So after the arrival of the old man, their plantation grew, his value raised in the society, but your wife is worried about her husband because it was out of her control or out of his control. How did Basavaya react to Tamanna's popularity in The Gardener? So here Tamanna was becoming popular day by day. How did the reaction or what was the reaction? How did Basavaya react for his popularity? When Tamanna came to know about the rivalry between him and Basavaya, he reached a peak and that 200 acres of his land had been forcibly taken by Basavaya and a fence was built by him. So after grabbing the 200 acres, a fence was put, and here what Tamanna did, he did not want to take the help of the police or he did not want to file a case to the court. He himself thought of another method where he could give a tough competition to Basavaya. First, everything was in a friendly manner. If one had 10 friends, the other acquired 15. If one had 800, the other had 1000. So whatever land was there in that village, everything was occupied by Tamanna and Basavaya. There was no more land left over. He got all his bitter experience with Basavaya composed in the form of ballads and started to sing. What did Tamanna do? So whatever the experience he had, the bitter experience he had with Basavaya, Tamanna composed all those stuff in a matter of ballads and he started to sing. When he started to sing, even Basavaya also tried, but he couldn't sing. Later on, what did Basavaya do in the sense, whatever the property Tamanna had, he tried to grab slowly one by one. But Tamanna never showed his interest towards the property because he was becoming popular by singing day by day. Basavaya's cruelty and his meanness. This way, his reputation as an artist started spreading fast and critics and scholars of folklore translated his songs. So here what happens in the sense, Tamanna is becoming famous day by day. You can see the critics, scholars, everyone listening to his songs were also translated. Basavaya tried to surpass Tamanna's fame by filling his life with all kinds of material wealth. He got a palatial mansion built for himself. So he couldn't tolerate the fame of Tamanna. So what did he do? He just tried to fill his house with all kinds of material, and he built a big palatal, that is a big mansion. And not only that, he appointed a number of persons just to praise him. And he dressed himself with all kinds of gold, diamonds and other precious stones. And he had invited the scholars. Whoever has visited his place, they say that you have everything at your place, that is in your house, but Tamanna's books is missing. So your house looks dull and empty. Even then, he is not satisfied. He wanted to become more famous than Tamanna, but at the end also he couldn't do, because whoever had visited his place, they say that something is missing, that is Tamanna's book is missing at your house. Next, question number 28. Why is bowing in Japan quantum more formal and also infectious according to George Mikes? So each and every country have different ways of respecting each other and greeting each other. So in Japan, bowing to each other is their mannerism. They say that it is our mannerism what we follow in our country. So what does George Mike says about this? In Japan, bowing mania strikes travelers. Everybody keeps bowing to everybody else with the natural and imitable grace and solemnity of a courtier. Bowing is quite a formal, oriental and also infectious. It is neither less nor more silly than shaking hands or kissing the cheek. The Japanese have a complicated hierarchy in bowing: who bows to whom, how deeply and for how long. So when we say that bowing to each other, we think that it is too very easy, but it is only easy for the people of Japan. When it comes to the other people who have visited that country, they find it very difficult, because we don't know for whom to bow, how long to bow and for how deeply we should bow. We doesn't know that, but for them it is easy. For the people will find it very difficult. And not only that, bowing to each other, and they also have some rules and regulations in the family. The wife has to bow to her husband, children to father, sister to all brothers, younger or elder brothers, she has to bow her head to each and everyone. And by looking into these people, the animal in this chapter, that is deer, what does it does in a sense, before snatching the food packet from the narrator, it just bows his head and then snatch the food packet. By looking into all the people of Japanese, even the animal also have learned that mania, that is bowing. The next one is about the traffic. Early traffic law in one of the American states, that if two cars met at an intersection, neither was to move before the other had gone. So it is an intersection. The car is intersected here. Both are, one is coming in this way, the other is going. So they both meet at the intersection, the particular point. Now who has to move the car? Whether one, he has to go, or else he has to move. Both cannot move the car at a time. Similarly, if two Japanese bow, neither is to straighten up before the other stands erect in front of him. So what happens when we bow to each other? Both the person will be bowing, they are bending their head, but we don't even know who will stand straight first. It is so very difficult for us, but for the people of Japan, it is very easy. It is little complicated for us, as I told, but they manage it without difficulty. Even the smallest difference in rank, standing age, social position will be subtly reflected in bowing style. The basic rules inside the family, as I told, wife should bow her head to husband, child bows to his father, younger brother to the elder brother, sister, she should bow brothers of whatever age. If it is younger or elder, whatever it is, sister has to bow her head for each and everyone in the family. And what do the Japanese stores employ here? They employ bowing girls whose only duty is to bow deeply and differentiately to all. For example, in our country, when you go to the mall or any stations, you can see a man with the Indian attire welcoming or greeting the people. But there only bowing girls are appointed. Only girls are appointed to do this duty. The deer has a true Japanese bow to the visitor and then jump and snatch the food back from the hand of the narrator, because even the deer has seen the people over there in Japan, and the deer also has cultivated the same habit. And in the station, that is railway station in Tokaido, so between Tokyo and Osaka, two people, that is the two conductors, march between the coach and then they bow to each other. Then they start collecting or checking the tickets. But when it comes to the bus stop, they'll never follow that rules and regulations, or they never bow to each other. They'll just they'll just rush inside, they'll hail each and everyone, they'll just enter inside the bus. The one more important thing about Japanese is about the soup. How do we have soup? We have soup without making noise. If we make noise, we say that, see the way he is having his soup. But in Japan, you have to make a noise. A fearful noise should be made, or else you will be called as an ill-mannered lout. The one who is serving you the dish, that is the soup, he will be appreciated when you make sound and have it. And the sound should not irritate or disturb the other people. If you make a irritating noise, even then you will be called as an ill-mannered lout. Question number 29. Give an account of the war between the drivers and pedestrians in Japan and Brazil through a traveler's eye. So, in this chapter, Brazilian people are too very rash in their driving. And George Mike says that nobody hurries in Brazil reaching their destination, and how early, a day late, or at all does not matter. So, what happens here in the sense, they are too very rash in their driving, and whatever the destination they want to reach, it might be 1 hour before or it might be 1 hour late, or they don't even go and reach the destination. They are not bothered of it. That kind of a people are Brazilians. And they have too much of leisure time. So what do? So the grave pavements in the streets are decorated with beautiful black mosaics. So the people have too much of leisure time, so they decorate the pavements with black mosaics. These leisurely people love speed driving. What do they love? They love speed driving. Gaining a 10th second is matter of grave importance for all of them all the time. Motor cars are extremely expensive in Brazil. The number of motor vehicles in Brazil is growing rapidly, and the pedestrian's life is becoming risky. He has to jump, leap, and run for dear life. So here, the Brazilians driving is too very fast. When they see the pedestrians crossing the road, what does the person who is seated in the driving seat? He'll drive his car very fast. So the one who is crossing the road, he should be very careful. He should jump, leap, and then he has to reach the place. Or else, if he is little bit careless, he might lose his life. The drivers do not care about them. Care about whom? Care about the pedestrians. As soon as the driver notices a pedestrian step out of the pavement, he regards him as fair game. So, as soon as he see the person crossing, that is the people crossing the road and going, what does they do? They'll start driving it rashly. And they say that it's like a fair game. Neither the pedestrians nor the driver reason in the least. One who is in the driving seat, it's like hunter and prey. It means to say that it is like hunter and prey. Hunter is one who is seated in the driving seat, and the prey, one who is, that is the pedestrian who is crossing the road. So if he has crossed the road and if he is safe, he turns back and says, today is your day, tomorrow it might be mine, because today you're in the car, tomorrow I might be in the car and you on the road. Whatever it is, but there is no anger, no hostility and no mad hooting. And they like, even when there is a cut in, overtaking and commit all the most heinous crimes of the road and crossing the road 20 times hard. So here, no manhunting, no anger, no hostility. But overtaking, when they overtake the vehicle, if anything happens, any accident occurs, even then what they do? They just look at each other's face, they'll just smile and they go away. It is not like our country. The traffic is so terrific that the pedestrians feel that it is their second birth. If the pedestrian with that heavy traffic or with that rash driving, if the pedestrian has saved his life, then he feels that he got his second birth because of their rash driving of the people of Brazilians. Moving on to question number 30th. What is whispering campaign and how does Roof conduct it in the auto? A whispering campaign refers to a secret meetings held between the group of elders of a village and the election campaign manager of a political party. So here, Roof is a campaigner and the candidate is Marcus eBay. So here, this answer is between the 5 elderly members and the Roof. How does he does the campaign for these people? The election manager goes to such campaign armed with money bags and owes the voters offering money for oaths. So here, what does Marcus eBay does in the sense? He gives speeches in the morning and after that, he has taken his salary in advance and he has changed into shillings and he has kept 2 shillings in each bag. That shillings will be given to the 5 elderly members of the village by Roof. So at night, Roof comes with 5 bags and he just tried to give one bag for all the 5 elderly members. But the 5 elderly members, they have never asked for the money. When they opened the bag and they saw it was only 2 shillings and they refused to take it because Marcus eBay is not so poor, he is filthy rich. Before he entering into the politics, Marcus eBay was a school teacher and he was thrown away from the school. Later he joined the politics. So now he is too very rich and giving 2 shillings is shame on his part. And the elderly member says that we never took the money or we never asked for the money. He himself is giving, but this is too shameless on behalf of Marcus eBay. But later, Roof, again he adds 2 more shillings and give to the 5 elderly members of the village. Later, when Roof offered them 2 more shillings each, they accepted it and agreed to cast their vote for Marcus eBay. Because Roof is well known in campaign, he has campaigned for local and national level. He can read the mood of the people also. So now, after giving 4 shillings for 5 elderly members of the village, they agreed to cast their vote for Marcus eBay. Thus, Roof conducted his whispering campaign for Marcus eBay. Question number 31. Describe Roof's meeting with the POP campaigner in the auto. So POP is the Progressive Organization Party. It is the opposition party. What was the secret meeting with the opposition party with the Roof? So in the story, the author, Roof is the election campaigner manager for Marcus eBay, as I told, and he is the candidate of People's Alliance Party. Marcus eBay is the candidate of People's Alliance Party, and Roof is a campaigner for Marcus eBay. One night, what happened before the election? The leader of the opposition party, that is the POP party team people, one of the leader visits Roof's house. What does he do in the sense? He places 5 pounds on the floor. The opposition party person has come to meet Roof and he has placed 5 pounds on the floor, and Roof is just looking into the money and he doesn't know whether to take it or not, because he is a campaigner for Marcus eBay from many years. He don't even want to cheat him. But what Roof does in the sense, he goes, close the door, come back and ask the opposition person, will the people get to know about this? So the person replies, it is only between me and you. No one will get to know what has happened in this 4 walls. After that, Roof will take that amount, that is the 5 pounds. However, the conscience pricks him and he tells in a feeble voice that the other person knows that he works for Marcus eBay and will be very bad on his part to accept a bribe or for Maduka and deceive his own master. So taking the bribe, and his promising, his swearing on God, saying that I am going to cast my vote for Maduka. Maduka is a candidate who is contesting for the election for the POP party. But when the other person tells him that Marcus will not know who he has voted for, Roof throws away his moral surplus to the wind and asks him whether anyone will talk about him outside. When he assures him that they are only interested in votes and not about gossip. So the person who has come to meet Roof, that is the opposition party person, he just says that I have come for asking vote, not to gossip. So Roof greets, tempts for the bribe or for the 5 pounds. He accepts and now he is trapped. So once he has taken the money, he is swearing or he is promising on the god IE. IE is the local god of Imofia village, and he takes the amount. But what happens during the time of the election? It is Roof goes to cast his vote, tear the ballot paper into 2 pieces, the first half into Maduka's box, the second half into Marcus eBay. As he has promised, he cast his vote for Maduka, but he himself knows what has happened in the electoral booth. Moving on to the next question, question number 32. Explain the economic benefits of cycling in the life of rural women of Pudukkottai has presented in Where There Is a Wheel. Cycling as a social movement in Pudukkottai started to hit out the backwardness, and as a result, the women are empowered. In the past 18 months, nearly 1 lakh women, most of them are neo-literates. Neo-literates, it means to say that newly educated, have taken bicycling as a symbol of independence, freedom and mobility. So, out of 1 lakh women, 70,000 women are newly literate and they have taken bicycling as a freedom of independence and mobility. It swept across the district. All professionals, women, agricultural workers, quarry laborers, teachers and village health nurses have taken cycle such that one can see direct link between the cycling and personal independence. So it is considered as a humble vehicle. It reduces their dependence on men. So not only this, there's Jamila Bibi who says that cycling is my independence. Not only Jamila Bibi, Fatima, who is a secondary school teacher, she don't even have so much of money to afford for the bicycle. Only to get the experience or the joy of that cycling, she hires a bicycle for half an hour every day. And these are the 2 very good examples for the women of Pudukkottai to learn cycling. They use cycling to collect water cart provisions from other places. All women ought to learn cycling, and in turn, their experience would enrich the literacy movement. So, what happens if the women have learned their cycling? They can collect water and they can also get their children while coming back from their work. So, most of the village, the women prepare their own handmade foods or the snacks, and they just try to sell it for other places or other villages. If they are dependent on men, they have to wait for each and everywhere. To take them for the bus station, they have to depend for men. If they want to go from one village to other, they have to wait for the bus, where they are losing or where it is a waste of time. So the women who learn cycling, they go to each and every village, they sell their products, while coming back they collect their children as well as they fetch the water also. Mobility among women improved their confidence. All women's cycle rallies stunned the town inhabitants. So when the women started to do their cycling, or when they started to learn cycling, there were few men who did not support them. They started talking bad about them. But the women never gave their ears to such people. It gives more time to focus on selling produce and enlarge the area to cover long distance and increase their leisure time. So if they want to sell their products, whatever they have produced, so what they will do in the sense, they'll go, before going, they'll just plan how many villages I can finish by today. They'll just go finish and they will come back, and they will be having lots of leisure time where they can relax for some time. That was about the 4 marks question. As I told you, have 14 questions. Out of 14 questions, you are supposed to answer any 8. And in that 8, you have to choose 2 questions from the poetry. Moving on to the third main, that is for 6 marks. Answer the following in about 200 words. You have 3 questions. Out of 3, you are supposed to answer any 1. You can't build stone palaces by honest labor. Is this true in the case of the King of Monaco? Discuss. So when you write the answer, or when you attend the answer for 6 marks, how should be your presentation? You need to write the word introduction should be written. Introduction is should and must. Then divide the main answer into 2 paragraphs. At last, give the conclusion. You have to write the conclusion. Then critical analysis. At last, what will be your opinion based on the chapter or on the poem? So you cannot earn stone palaces by honest labor. It's a proverb. Now let's see what will be the answer for this. The introduction will be like, it is a tiny little kingdom, Monaco, located near the borders of France and Italy on the shores of Mediterranean Sea. There were 7,000 inhabitants. If the land in the kingdom was divided, not all the 7,000 would get an acre of land. And he had a very small army with 60 men. Like other kings, even he had palace, bishops, courtiers, general, ministers, everyone, but in very short. And the king used to collect taxes on tobacco, wine, spirit and poll tax. Whatever the taxes he was collecting, it was not sufficient to feed his officials and courtiers. So he started with a special source of revenue known as gaming house, where the people played roulette. At the end of the day, the keeper used to get the amount. Out of that amount, he has to give some percentage. Whatever the profit he gets, he has to give some percentage to the king. And not only the Monaco kingdom here, the German sovereign started this game, but they have forbidden in the sense they have stopped this. Why they have stopped in the sense, the people of that country, they come, try their luck, whatever the money they have, they lose everything, again borrow the money, lose everything. At the end of the day, they drown or shoot themselves. Only for this purpose, the people of Germany have forbidden this game. But there was no one to stop the King of Monaco. The King of Monaco knew that it was a dirty business, but he did not have any other way. So the proverb, you cannot earn stone palaces being very honest. Also, he knew that collecting tax on tobacco and drink was not unethical, but Anyhow, he had been doing it for a long time, and so he did not mind collecting additional revenue by this dirty business as well. Next question, it's an option. Heaven is to be created on earth by human effort. How is this brought out in heaven if you're not here on earth? The poet feels that heaven cannot be anywhere else other than earth, because he believed that earth is a heaven for him. Can you be a god? Is it possible? When you cannot be a god, then he says there is no god. Can you be a nymph? That is the angels. When you can't be an angel, there are no angels. So according to him, what is heaven? The earth, the nature itself is heaven. So we say, our grandparents might have told us the story saying that once you're dead, if you do anything good in your life, you'll go to heaven. If you have done anything worse in your life, then you go to hell. But have they come and told us whether they have reached heaven or hell? No, only the story we know about it. But here, according to the author, the poet, he says that heaven is on earth. The poet feels that heaven cannot be anywhere else than earth. Beautifully, description of nature is presented. A river of stream rushes fast and reaches the sea and loses its identity, and the waves roll back her surf onto the shore. When you go to the sea, you can see the waves rolling and coming like a surf. And here the poet says that that is the beauty of heaven. Here is the heaven. Instead of that, we say once we are dead, we go to heaven and hell. No, that is not heaven. This is heaven. The nature itself is heaven here. The sunshine is quite tender and acceptable to nature, and this sunshine is spread throughout the green gardens. When he sees a combination of beautiful working nature, it seems equated to heaven. So when you see the sunshine early morning, or when you see the water droplets on the roses early in the morning, he says that is heaven, that is in your gardens. So he feels that that is heaven, not anything else. The poet tries to describe the joy of good harvest as experienced by the farmers, and when it is night, the presence of the moon further tries to create heavenly atmosphere, and this beautiful nature as experienced by the poet is converted into words and written in the form of a lyric or a poem. So once the crop is ready to harvest, and it is harvested and it will be there in the field for 3 days. So morning it is harvesting, at night, that is with the moonlight, when you see that, it looks so beautiful. So he says that is heaven, and all this he has taken into his verse and he has written it in the form of lyric or in the form of a poem. And this creature of literature is bound to create heaven on earth, and in the circumstances the poet creates heaven on earth as according to the poet. So where he creates heaven? He creates heaven on earth. Next question for 6 marks, that is the option. How does the bicycle prove to be a tool of changing for rural women in where there is a will? Explain. The introduction of cycling in the Pudukkottai district has brought about a tremendous change in the lives of rural women. Cycling has offered a way out of enforced routines around male-imposed barriers. The rural women in particular have gained a great deal of confidence on account of their learning cycling. So here, the women got a real power and a real confidence by cycling. Not only that, they have taken part in the exhibition contest. So 70,000 women had participated in the year 1991, and they got a confidence by this, and they say that we don't want to depend on any men. We can go do our work and get back home. Earlier, they used to burden with economic as well as social or familiar obligations. Many young mothers had to help the menfolk in earning the family income as well as domestic chores like tending to children and fetching water from remote places. So what the women has to do? For each and everything, women should stand behind. To fetch the water, to bring their children, everything women has to depend on men. But now they say that once we have learned the cycling, we can do our work, we can get our children, we can fetch the water. We don't want to depend on anyone. Even to sell their agriculture produce in nearby villages, they had to carry their produce to the bus stop with the help of their men folk. So whatever the things they have produced, that is the women, if they want to carry from home to the bus stop, they have to depend on men. Whether it might be a husband or the brother, whatever it is, but they have to depend on men to take them from the home to the bus stop. So they say, if we know cycling, we don't even want to bend our head to those men. Secondly, they had to come back within a fixed time to tend to little kids at home and to store or fetch water from remote places. Not only that, second thing is that if they're going out of the house to other villages to sell their products, and they have to come back at the fixed time. A time is fixed because their kids might come back from school. So there should be someone at home. So the mother has to be back from her work. And she also has to walk for a very long distance to fetch water and to get her children. They had to walk long distance to fetch water and sell their produce. After learning cycling, such women became free and independent. This gave them a lot of confidence. Moreover, the ability to ride a bicycle gave them a lot of self-respect. But after they learning their cycling, it gave them lot of confidence, and they can go finish their work. While coming back, they'll fetch the water, they'll pick their children, and they will be having lot of leisure time where they can relax for some time. So they say that cycling gave them a lot of self-respect, because each and every time depending on the men, no, she'll be not ready. Now she says, I have my self-respect where I don't want to depend on men for each and everything. That was all about the literature part. In English, it is 50 for literature and 50 for grammar part. So I'm done with the literature part. Once again, I'll just brief about the literature part. So in the first main, you have 18 questions. Out of 18, you are supposed to answer any 12. Each question carries 1 mark. Coming to the second main, you have 14 questions. Out of 14, you should answer any 8, choosing 2 from poetry. Coming to the third main, for 6 marks, you will be attending only 1 question out of 3. Moving on to the grammar part, you have 2 unseen passages. One is prose and the other one is poetry. Read the following passage and answer the questions set on it. So you have a passage here and you have 10 questions. Each question carries 10 marks. So this is the passage here and you can see the questions. So as I told, question number 34, in that under question number 34, you have the questions like A to J, like A, B, C, D. You have 10 questions. All the 10 questions should be written in one sequence. You cannot write A, B, C, D in one leaf and the remaining in the last or in the mid of the page. It goes wrong. Once you have started with question number 34, make sure that all the 10 questions will be in a sequence. So, now if you question me whether to read the passage first or to look into the question, it is up to you. If you ask me, better to read the question and then search for the answer. Because when you see the questions here, there are few words where you can keep it in your mind and it will help you to search the answer in the passage. Here in this passage, along with the question, you have the answers here for the passage. First question, when did the man learn the use of wool to make fiber? Let's go back to see the answer here. So when did the man? So during the New Stone Age, around 700 years ago. So when did the man learn the use of wood to make fiber? That is years ago. You can see the answer here. Where was the wool thought to be unclean? So where was the wool thought to be unclean? The wool thought to be unclean in Egypt. Flax is grown for its You have an option, grain and corn, fruits and flowers, stems and seeds. Let me go back to the passage. You can see here, flax is a plant bearing blue flowers. It is grown for its stems and seeds. What will be the answer here? It's known for its stems and seeds. Next, the people who used cotton in 300 BC were. Who used cotton in 3000 BC? So, cotton was used in India. Who used cotton in 3000 BC? It is the Indians who used cotton in 3000 BC. It is the Indians. Next question. Name one of the two processes to turn fiber into cloth. So, you have to search for two processes, that is wool, flax and cotton into cloth. Traditionally, weaving was the task of. So, who was weaving here in traditional? Whether is it a children, women or men? Traditionally, weaving is the task of men. How much could a woman spin in one day? So, spinning, how much a woman can spin in one day? She can spin 550 yards. Which of the plant fibers is used to make turpentines? So here, hemp is made from the cannabis, that plant. Who slept in the sheets made from stinging nettles? So who slept? It is Mary, Queen of Scotland. Form antonym of employed by adding prefix. What do you mean by antonym? Antonym, it is nothing but opposite word, and you have to add a prefix for that. Prefix in the sense a word or two letters before the word employed. What is the opposite of employed? It is unemployed. So this will be the prefix here. Unemployed is a prefix and the opposite of employed is unemployed. Moving to the next passage, that was the prose. Now it's a poem. So again, there is one change in the grammar part here. Before you had only one question from poetry, but now there is a little bit change in the model question paper. As per the board, you have two passages. Let me read out the first passage and answer it for you. Read the following lines and answer the questions. Any one with three questions. As I told you, have two questions. Out of two, you have to answer any one. And in that one, you have three questions. So, question number 35, you have to write question number 35 and below that 1, 2 and 3 with the Roman numbers. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert, near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lines whose frown. Question, whom did the speaker meet? So, whom did the speaker meet here? The speaker met a traveler. Whom did the speaker meet? Met a traveler. Where did the traveler come from? He came from antique land. What lies half sunk on the sand? Half sunk on the sand, shattered visage lines. Next one, Lord, I'm so tired. Tired, I entered this world. Far have I wandered since the cock crew, and the road to school is steep. Let's see the questions in this. Who is addressed in the poem? Who is addressed here? It is the Lord. The Lord or the poet is addressed. What time of the day does since the cock crew suggest? When does the cock crew? The cock crew early in the morning. How is the road to school according to the speaker? According to the speaker, the road to the school is steep. So you have two questions. You have to answer any one. Moving on to question number 37. Complete the following by filling the blanks using the right form of the verb given in the brackets. This is the right form of the verb. You have three blanks. Each blank carries 1 mark. The prince agreed to this, and the matter, in the bracket you have the word arrange. There was a small lockup where people keep temporarily. The young fellow put there. So here, let's see the answer for this. You have to write the correct form of the verb. The prince agreed to this, and the matter Now, this is in the present tense. This word should be written in the past tense and it should be in past continuous tense. Was arranged. Was arranged. Why was arranged? In the sense the prince is talking about one person. He's discussing about the matter. The prince agreed to this and the matter was arranged. There was a small lockup where the people, it means to say that more than one, were kept. Past tense of keep is kept. Temporarily. The young fellow was put. You cannot write putted. Put, the past tense of put is put. The young fellow was put there. Moving on to this 38th question, that is report the conversation. Report the conversation is direct and indirect speech. As I told in my video classes, what do you mean by report writing? This question is for 5 marks. Reported writing is nothing but whatever I have told till now, you have heard everything. Whatever you have heard, you're going to convey it to your friends. That is the third person. I as a first person has spoken to you, have given you few information, and you as a second person have heard it, and whatever you have heard it, you will go and convey the same thing to the third person. It might be your friend or your parents or your mom. So let's see the conversation here. Don Gonzalo, I want a bench to myself. Benito, there is none. Gonzalo, that one over there is mine. Benito, there are 3 priests sitting there. Gonzalo, route them out. So this is the conversation. When you write the answer, just go through with each and every conversation and then start writing the answer. So your answer should be in a paragraph, not like a dialogue writing. We don't expect you to write a dialogue. We want the dialogue to be written in a paragraph into the indirect speech. See, Don Gonzalo, I want a bench to myself. Don Gonzalo said that he, I becomes he. He wanted a bench to himself. Replied. Benito is replying for his question. Benito replied that there was none. There is no, there was none. Gonzalo stated that the one over there was his. Mine becomes was his. Benito said that there were 3 priests sitting over there. Already the 3 priests are sitting over there. Gonzalo ordered Benito to rout them out. If you write so much, you can fetch 5 marks. Only the thing is that you should get to know whether it's the first person speaking to the second person and the second person to the third person. You need to read the conversation first and then start writing the answer. Moving to the question number 39. That is the dialogue. Complete the dialogue. Don't get confused with report the conversation and complete the dialogue. Report the conversation is direct and indirect speech. Dialogue is this. So this question carries 4 marks. There are 4 blanks. Each blank carries 1 mark. It is stored. So once you see the dialogue, what you have to do in the sense, you have to read the complete dialogue and then answer. Many students go wrong here. What they do in the sense, they'll just read the sentence, start filling the blanks. So the question what is given here, it might be something different in the second line. Your answer doesn't match there. So better to read the dialogue first and then answer. Kiran, do you work here? Starting conversation with stranger. So this conversation is between the stranger, that is the assistant, and the Kiran. So when you talk to a stranger, it should be in a formal way. You cannot say anything like, hey man, come here. You cannot talk anything like that because you're talking to a person who is not known to you. He's a stranger. Assistant, yes, I do. So in the bracket, it is offering help. Kiran, do you have children's sweater? Assistant, yes, there are over there by the wall. Kiran, asking for price. Assistant, it's 300 rupees. Kiran, here you are, assistant expressing gratitude. So this conversation is between Kiran and the assistant. They both are strangers now. Kiran will fill the answer for this. Do you work here? So it's excuse me. Excuse me. Do you work here? Starting conversation with a stranger. Assistant, yes, I do. Offering help. So he will question, how can I help you? How can I help you? Kiran, do you have children's sweater? Assistant, yes, there are over there by the wall. Kiran, now he's asking for the price. The assistant, he's telling that the sweaters are there near the wall. May I know the cost of this sweater? May I know the cost of the sweater? So the Kiran is asking, he just wants to know the price. May I know the price? Assistant, he replies, 300 rupees. Kiran, here you are. Assistant, expressing gratitude. Expressing gratitude in the sense, he is showing his gratitude towards the Kiran. So he says, thank you. This is how you have to write the answer for the dialogue writing. Read the complete question and then start writing the answer. Next, 14th question. Fill in the blanks by choosing the appropriate expressions in the brackets. You have 2 blanks. Each blank carry 1 mark. And you can see the options given here below. So the options are gave up, chanced upon, passed away. There are 3 options. In that 3, you have to choose the correct answer and rewrite it. So Tamanna, everything. Tamanna gave up. Tamanna gave up everything and went to a far-off place. Basavaya was left with no reason to leave. After some time, he passed away. You cannot write chanced up. It is only the answer suits here is passed away. This is the expression. Not only these expressions, you have many idioms and phrases. There are few other words also, and most of the time the questions will be picked from your textbook, from the chapters itself. Next, fill in the blanks with the right linker. It is for 4 marks. 4 blanks. Each blank carries 1 mark. Again, the options are given below here. The answers are given. You have to just read the sentence and fill the answers. The death sentence was altered to life imprisonment. This would enable the prince to show his mercy. You have the option like because and which, however. This would enable the prince to show his mercy because it would come cheaper. No. This would enable the prince to show his mercy and it would become cheaper. But implementing the sentence was a difficult task because there was no strong prison fit for permanent use. However, they managed to find a place which would serve the purpose. As I told, linking words are given below, answers are given. I have to just go through with the lines and then fill the blanks there. Moving on to the question number 42. Read the following passage and make notes by drawing and filling the boxes given below. It's a note. Again, it's something like a passage. A note is given, a passage is given, and you can see the table here. There are 8 blanks. Each blank carries half a mark. And if you see the question here, read the following passage and make a notes by drawing and filling the boxes. So you cannot write the answer directly. What you have to do in the sense, you have to draw the box and then fill the answers. However, it's given in the question paper in the same way. You need to draw the box and then fill the answers. So there are 8 blanks. Each blank carries half a mark. So put together it's for 4 marks. Let's see the answer for this. Our earliest ancestors. You can see the arrow marks given there. Our earliest ancestor is number 1. Let's see what will be the answer. Our earliest ancestor, that is hominids. So what will be the answer here? Our earliest ancestor, hominids. Next, see the arrow mark, lived in. You have to go back. Lived in, where? Where did they live? They live in Africa. Lived in Africa. Next, became known as. Go back to the passage. Lived in Africa. Has they evolved into an upright posture and learned to make tools around 10 lakh years ago. So what will be the answer here? They became known as modern people. What they were known as? They were known as modern people. Lived around 10,000 years ago. Here, became known as modern people, or you have an option again, or it is given here, okay, as modern people or Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens. Next, found food by gathering and. So they found their food by gathering. See here, from fossil evidence, we know they found food by gathering and hunting. So how do they find? They found their food by gathering and hunting. People in West Asia started to produce. Go back to the passage. People lived in this for thousands of years. Around 900 BC for the first time, people in West Asia started to produce their food. What did they started to produce? They started to produce their food. Around 9,000 BC. Around 9,000 BC. This is how you have to fill the boxes. You have to draw the table, read the passage, and then you need to fill the boxes. Moving on to the next question. This is very important. You don't have any option here. Write a letter of application in response to the following advertisement which appeared in the Times of India dated 21st January 2022. So how you got to know that there is a vacancy? You got to know by the advertisement which was appeared in the Times of India. For what post they wanted here? They wanted for office assistant. And what is the qualification? You should have the qualification like you should have passed second PUC, commerce, computer science basics with tally is mandatory. You should be knowing this. And for whom you have to apply? Apply within 1 week to the regional manager. This is the address you have to write, the 2 address. The regional manager, Karnataka Financial Service Limited, Kasturba Road, Mangalore 1. So, how do you write a letter? This job application can be written in 2 ways. The first one is, you can write this letter in 2 ways. The first one is, in the body of the letter, you can add the resume also. You can write the resume in the body of the letter. The other one is, you can write the covering letter first and then the resume. Resume, you can write it separately or you can write it together. It is up to you. There are 2 ways. But when you're applying for your job, your covering letter and the job application, that is the resume, to be written separately. You cannot write in the body of the letter. So better to write the covering letter and the resume separately. So let's see the format. I'm not going to give everything in detail. I'll just give the format of the letter and explain it to you. So here it's a blank page and you have a margin in your answer script. Whatever you write, everything falls on the left hand side. Nothing in the right side or in the center. And you'll not write anything saying that letter writing, job application, no heading is given. Only what you have to write in the sense, you have to write the question number. That is question number 43. First will be your address, and as you're attending your board exam, you'll never write your name as well as the college name. Your name will be XXX and your address will be YY and Y. This is what you have to write. You'll never write the word from. This from word is not written. If you write this, this goes wrong. From word is not written. You just write your name and the address. After that, again, you have to leave a line, one line, and then you have to write the date. When you write the date, don't make mistake because it's 21st January 2022. You have to apply within a week. Within that week, within that 7 days, you need to write the date. So the date will be like 26th January. After January, there is a comma, 2022. After writing the date, then it is the to address. So the to address is this: the regional manager, Karnataka Financial Service Limited, Kasturba Road, Mangalore. So it's the regional manager, Karnataka Financial Service Limited, Kasturba Road, Mangalore. After writing the to address, again you need to write the salutation, that is respected sir. You cannot write both the gender by putting slash, because once you are applying for the job, you'll just find out who the person is, whether it's a male or a female. It might be from your friend or from your neighbor or the person who is working in that institution or the company. You'll just try to find out. So you can write only one gender. After writing the salutation, then comes the subject. Subject, it is like applying for the post of office assistant. What will be the subject? Applying for the post of office assistant. Assistance. This will be the subject. Then it is the reference. You need to write the reference. What is the reference here? How you got to know that there is a vacancy? That is here. From the word advertisement, you have to add the word the. From there till the end of the year, that is till the date, you need to write the subject. So the advertisement which appeared in the Times of India dated 21st January 2022. That will be the reference. Then comes the body of the letter. You will not leave any line. It goes one below the other. Writing the resume separately, you will never write anything about your qualification, hobbies, or your experience, anything like that. You'll just try to write about yourself. With the above reference, I would like to work in your institution or in your company as an office assistant. I can do the best to the institution. Only you'll boast about yourself. Then at last, you will end up the letter by saying thank you. You have to leave a line. Then you'll write thank you. Next, it's yours faithfully. When you write, there is no apostrophe S. Yours faithfully. Then the word signature is should and must because it's an acknowledgement. After that, your full name in brackets. Because I have written the name as XX, even you have to write the same thing in your examination. Follow the same thing. Write XX. Then below this, leaving your line enclosed number 1. So enclose number 1, it means to say that you have attached your resume in the next sheet. There you'll write the word resume in the center of the page. Then it's like name, father's name, date of birth, nationality, permanent address, contact number, mail ID, your educational qualification, then it is your hobbies, experience, all those stuff will be written in the resume. At the last, whatever the information given by me is to the best of my knowledge, then I'll write the place and the date, and the right side in the resume, you'll write the word signature, and you have to put your signature, that is XXX. Nowhere you'll put your illegal signature in the letter writing format. Everywhere it is your full name you have to write. Moving on to the next question, that is question number 44. Here in this question you have option. 1, you can write speech, or else you can opt a report. It is up to you. Your college is celebrating Karnataka Rajyotsava. You are asked to speak on this occasion. Write a speech in about 100 words. Your speech should include the following points. So this question is for 5 marks. Your college is celebrating Rajyotsava, and one of the person has asked you to speak about this. So what are the points you need to include in the sense? Kannada speaking people after independence under several provinces. Struggle for unification. Linguistic province called Mysuru state formed in 1956. Renamed Karnataka 1973. Present day status hub of IT industries, tourist attractions. So these are the few points which you have to include in your speech, and it is up to you whether to opt for the speech or for the report. Here, based on these information or based on these clues, you have to write a speech. And the next question, that is the option. The pie chart given below represents the percentage of the time spent by students on an average in a day for several activities. Based on the information, write a report in 120 words. So every time it is not the pie chart they ask, they might ask the pie chart, line graph or a bar graph, whatever it is, but you have to write a report based on the graph given here. So here it is a report that the students average in a day of several activities. So what are the activities here? At college, how many hours you spend? That is 25% of the students have some activities at college. 25% of the students sleep. With friends, 17% of the students spend time with friends. Another 17% of students spend time in watching TV. Few students spend their time in work hard. Few with music and other activities, that is 8 and 8%. So based on this, there is the information given here in the pie chart. Based on this, you have to just do the comparison from one percentage with the other percentage, and you have to give the reasons. Now, you start the sentence like the above pie chart given below. So the first sentence will always be in the question itself. The above pie chart given below represent the percentage of time spent by students on an average in a day for several activities. So here at college, 25% of the students spend their time in the same way. 25% of the students spend their time in sleeping. This is how you have to compare and write a speech. Even this question carries 5 marks and it should be 120 words. Don't look into the words and sit. The thing is that we want the quality of the answer. The quality of the answer is very important, not the quantity. Moving on to the question number 45. What do the underlined words in the following extract refers to? So there are 4 questions. Each question carries 1 mark. Again, it's a passage. You can see the passage here. Read the passage and you can see the words underlined. After reading the passage, what does these words refers to in the passage? Based on that, you need to write the answer. Let me read out. The word spinster now means an unmarried woman. It comes from spinning. Traditionally, it was women who did the task, whereas weaving was men's task. The Industrial Revolution which began in the 1760s, is these tasks as machines were invented to spin and weave. The machine came as a boon, but there were people who opposed them. They believed that the machines would make people workless and starve them to death. So by reading this passage, now you have to fill these blanks or you have to write the answer for this extract. So the word spinster now means an unmarried woman. It comes from spinning. What it comes from? What do you mean by it here? It is referred to spinster. It refers to spinster. Traditionally, it was women who did the task. Who? It is women. Women who did the task, whereas weaving was men's task. The Industrial Revolution, which began in Industrial Revolution. Which began in 1760s, is these tasks as machines were invented to spin and weave. The machines came as a boon, but there were people who opposed them. Opposed what here? Opposed the machines. There were few people who opposed this machines because what did they oppose? The machines would make people workless and starve them to death. This is how you have to answer for the extract. And the last question of this model question paper, that is question number 46. Rewrite the jumbled segments to form a meaningful sentence. So here the words are jumbled. You have to rewrite it to make a meaningful sentence. You have one question for this and it carries 1 mark. Now let's see the answer for this jumbled segments. Included literacy drive as a part of the Sheila Rani mobility. So here Sheila Rani included mobility as a part of the literacy drive. Sheila Rani included mobility as a part of the literacy drive. You have to just rearrange the segments to get a meaningful answers. So you have from question number 1 to question number 46 in your English question paper. See that each and every mean you'll write the question number correctly and write the answer for those questions. Don't make a mistake in writing the question number. If you write the correct answer and if your question number goes wrong, you'll never get any mark. Make sure that you'll write the correct numbers. By this, I have come to an end with the discussion of model question paper. And I wish all the second PUC students who are attending their second PUC board exam a great success and a good luck. Thank you.